Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000 watts transmitters going into those magical boxes known as radios, aka the Howard Reynolds machines. Before we get started, folks, I want to remind that we're also reaching our international listeners via the magic of the internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, that was created by whom? We the people, but monetized by those huge oligarchs. But anyhow, we'll talk about some of that in a little bit. Before and without further ado, let's go to the geniuses in El Estudio, into the studio. How you doing, my brothers?
And good morning, Egberto. It's Tuesday morning at the radio, and good morning to Bonn, Germany. Since we can get there through the internet.
Yeah, why not, right?
I know somebody in Germany is listening to us going, what is this? Was ist das?
Very interesting.
But stupid. Jack, you got some wisdom that ain't stupid this morning. What's going on, man?
Oh, well, I'm playing off of Egberto's theme today. Yes. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Yes, the corporate CEOs are lining up to kiss Trump's ring because they smell profit. So get ready, America. That profit will be coming out of your purses or pocketbooks as the corporate elites chant, privatize the profits and socialize the costs. So get ready, citizens, to be shook down, fleeced, pickpocketed, cheated, robbed, looted, taxed, and then left for dead.
That's adding insult onto injury. Left for dead.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Anyway, we are going to have a great show, folks. And don't forget, numbers 281. What am I saying? 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. That's the number to reach us. Today we're going to talk, Jack nails it, right? Let me get to my little cheat sheet here. The title of the show today is Spineless, Greedy CEOs are sucking up to Trump. Exciting young Democratic leaders, ready for the torch. CEO and corporate executives are doing what they do best. Make a dollar, even if it means dealing with the traitor-in-chief. Democrats may be installing younger leadership, we hope. But, for those of you who received my newsletter this morning, sorry for about 3 typos in the first 3 sentences. I'm reading it right now, and I'm like, yeah, I know I was sleepy, but I thought I had my spell checker on. Evidently, the spell checker is fine. Just the plurality was wrong. Anyhow, I'll correct that in the system. Anyhow, today we're going to start, folks, with the spineless, greedy CEOs. And look, Robert Reich wrote a piece, and I want to kind of get into the piece and expand on the piece that Robert Reich was talking about. Okay. He called it, I stole the name from Robert Reich. He called it Spineless, Greedy CEOs are lining up to lick Trump's backside. I don't want to put the backside in my title because, I wanted to keep it a little more G-rated as opposed to PG. At a time in American history when the most influential leaders of the U.S. need to stand up loudly and clearly for the rule of law, democracy, and decency, they're leading the charge in the opposite direction. Yes, those are the CEOs, but we never said CEOs were strong. We never said CEOs had a lot upstairs. What CEOs are the masters of capitalism. They are the masters of the particular economic structure that we have that makes the few a lot of money. I repeat, it makes the few a lot of money. Anyone recall the time in the late summer of 2017 when prominent CEOs resigned from U.S. President Donald Trump's business councils in protest at his defense of white nationalists who marched in Charlottesville after Trump called them very fine people? That's from Robert Reich. At the time, I thought America's CEOs might become a bulwark against Trump's extremism, but I was wrong. So says Robert Reich. Within months, the CEOs were seeking to get back into Trump's good graces. After the insurrection unleashed by Trump against the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, many CEOs announced they wouldn't be financing the campaigns of election deniers. CEOs of prominent social media banned Trump from appearing. I hoped their actions would limit Trump's fanaticism and Trump's growing MAGA movement. I was wrong, says Robert Reich. Within 2 years, the CEOs were financing the campaigns of election deniers. Within 3 years, prominent social media were allowing Trump to return to their platform and retell his lies. I digress. Yesterday, as I'm writing my show, my 3:00 show, I look on the screen and there was Trump giving a news conference. And it was deja vu all over again. And for my MAGA listeners, my brothers and sisters that are MAGA listening, I promise you, I do not suffer from the Trump derangement syndrome. I don't have TDS. Okay? What I have is whenever someone is overtly lying, that's one thing. When they're overtly lying to a group of journalists and the journalists are just sitting down, taking this stuff in, and we know that the journalists know that he's lying, but they're allowing it to go over their airwaves unchallenged, and at the same time, in that regards, fool people into, well, if the journalists are there and they don't object to what he's saying, they don't correct what he's saying, they don't point out that he's a liar as he is saying it, then it is new food, it's new energy for MAGA because they don't know any better. For the average American citizen, they don't know any better. They're working, taking care of their kids. Their job isn't to do what the journalist's job is to do. We have a fourth estate for a reason. We have journalism for a reason, to keep all else in check. When you have politicians lying, they should be out there telling the American people, Donald Trump is lying. And that didn't occur yesterday on his long, drawn-out press conference. And I sat there listening, and my blood started boiling. And I'm like, it's not America's fault that this guy got reelected. Journalism, it's your fault. Because you give what he says plausibility with your dereliction of duty. Anyway, continuing with Robert Wright. I confess to having had a moment's thought during the last 8 months that Trump's conviction on 34 criminal counts in Manhattan, his civil conviction for defamation in connection with what a judge termed rape, and his disgraceful nativism, describing poorer nations as a shit holes, using terms redolent of Nazism to describe foreigners as poisoning the blood of Americans and baselessly accusing Haitians immigrants of eating our pets might force CEOs to rethink their willingness to give Trump a pass. No such luck. No such luck. Amazon's founder and chief, Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, had a rocky relationship with Trump in the first Trump administration. Angry with Bezos over unfavorable reporting in the Post, Trump questioned whether Amazon got a sweetheart deal with the U.S. Postal Service. Amazon, in turn, accused Trump of improperly pressuring the Pentagon to deny the company a major cloud computing contract. Bezos apparently learned his lesson. After Trump was shot at a campaign event, Bezos called him on social media, praised Trump's grace and courage under literal fire. That's what Bezos. The man came close to death, but a bullet kind of hit his ear. A stray bullet hit his ear, right? Actually, not a stray bullet. That's wrong of me. A bullet aimed at him missed and hit his ear. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I was in, I think it was Baltimore when this occurred. I was doing Netroots. And, you know, I saw all the memes that really were like, dang, he missed. I never wanted that bullet to hit. Donald Trump is a horrendously terrible, evil person. But I thought that taking that guy out, having would be two things. One, it would be a disgrace to the person who did it. Why would you stoop to that level for this guy? And secondly, you know, we want the ballot box to be the place that rules our politics. Our politics ruled by the ballot box. All right. Bezos didn't allow, back to Reich. Bezos didn't allow the Post editorial board to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris for president. So the editorial board that is supposed to be independent, Bezos, as owner of the paper, says you cannot print that endorsement of Kamala Harris, saying that Kamala Harris was the better choice for the presidency. That is fascism, folks. When you start to change the behavior of the private sector, when you start to change the behavior of the media because of that leader, that is fascism. Industry, journalism, and all facets of your economy being modified to suit the will of your Führer, that is fascism. We're living it. It has already started. We're living fascism, folks. And it creeps up on you. And right now, I can still be on air saying the things that I'm saying. But it creeps, baby. It creeps. In the long run, I digress from the piece right now to point this out. I've been in conference calls and etc. about what's going to happen when the media or if the media eventually caves in, and then the independent media is pretty much forced out in many different ways. You don't have to be forced out by somebody coming to your station with a gun and arresting you. You can be forced out in the new media's way of using the internet by throttling. I've already noticed many of us progressive networks have actually been throttled on the internet. There are other ways to get at the independent media. So what we've been talking about is, how do we get around the throttling? How do we get it? Throttling means that they don't allow your internet stream to get to all the places that it normally would get to. They make sure you don't get distributed widely. So what I'm telling every independent journalist right now, every independent media person, every average American citizen with a sphere of influence. And when I say a sphere of influence, you may not understand that you, people, when you're on Facebook or Telegram or Instagram or TikTok or all these other platforms, you have a sphere of influence. And if your sphere of influence starts to grow, you could be throttled by one of the billionaires who owns many of these different platforms. Bezos as Amazon, the guy who owns Google, the guy who owns Facebook, Zuckerberg, etc. Notice they are moseying up to Trump right now. What happens when Trump says, hey, there's this person on your platform that has a lot of reach that's been giving me a hard time. And they don't have to do anything. They don't have to say anything. They just have to, from the coding point of view, ensure that your commentary doesn't get to a whole lot of people or to a group of people. So one of the things that we're telling folks right now, build your mailing list, build your telephone list, build all different forms of communicating that you have right now, because they can get some, they can't get all of them all of the time. But the networking of thousands of small people with spheres of influence is what we will need to do to defeat fascism that is led by Trump and the billionaire CEOs. Note his administration is being run by billionaires before it has even started. They have started sucking up. Continuing with Mr. Reich. Not to be outdone in the groveling department, Meta's Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg got a dinner invitation at Mar-a-Lago. Meta is putting $1 million into Trump's inaugural fund. Of course, you know Bezos is as well from Amazon. It is an important time for the future of American innovation, Meta said in a statement. Mark was grateful for the invitation to join President Trump for dinner. Zuckerberg sought it. He sought it. It wasn't an invitation. He sought it. And the opportunity to meet with members of his team about the incoming administration. There's not a damn thing about innovation from the Trump administration. If we take a look at what Biden invested in both chips and technologies, etc., that is the administration that actually thought about investing in innovation, not Trump. Stephen Miller, Trump's incoming deputy chief of staff for policy, told Fox News that Zuckerberg has been very clear about his desire to be a supporter of and a participant in this change we're seeing all around America and the world with this reform movement that Donald Trump is leading. In his first administration, Trump accused Facebook of filtering out views favorable to him. He even called Zuckerberg to be jailed in retaliation for plotting against him during the 2020 election. Now, like Bezos, Zuckerberg has turned to fawning. During the campaign, he had several private phone calls with Trump. After the assassination attempt, Zuckerberg told Trump he was praying for him and told an interviewer Trump looked like a badass after pumping his fist to the crowd. I mean, these are CEOs. These are billionaires. They don't care about you. You are worried. You know, some of you get mad when I knock up these billionaires as parasitic fascist parasites that they are because they don't create anything. You do. And you get mad if we jump on them when they're abusing you with a smile. Elon Musk and half of Silicon Valley is kissing Trump's derriere, according to Mr. Reich. Last January, speaking from the World Economic Forum's confab in Davos, Jamie Dimon, chair and CEO of JP Morgan Chase, the largest and most profitable bank in the United States and one of the most influential CEOs in the world, heaped praise on Trump's policies while president the first time. Take a step back. Be honest, Dimon said. Trump was kind of right about NATO. Kind of right on immigration. He grew the economy quite well. Tax reform worked. That was out of the mouth of Jamie Dimon, a billionaire who claim to have a modicum of intelligence, who would like you to believe he's a truthful person, who would like you to believe that he knows what he's talking about. But here's the analysis. Remember, he heaped praises on Trump for immigration, economy, and more. Well, Robert Reich blew that apart. Here's what Robert Reich had to say. Kind of right about NATO? Trump wanted the U.S. to withdraw from the pact and may get his way after January 20th. This would open Europe further to Russian President Vladimir Putin's aggression. Kind of right about immigration? Even the conservative Cato Institute found that Trump reduced legal immigration, but not illegal immigration. He reduced legal immigration, but not illegal immigration. Trump refused to grant legal status to children of immigrants born in the United States or who grew up here, and tried to ban Muslims from the U.S. Grew the economy quite well. In fact, under Trump, the economy lost 2.9 million jobs. Even before the pandemic, job growth was slower than it's been under Biden. The unemployment rate increased by 1.6 percentage points to 6.3%. The international trade deficit that Trump promised to reduce increased. The number of Americans lacking health care increased by more than 3 million people. Come on, billionaires. We know that you don't care about middle class folks, but all the things we just mentioned affected middle class people. Tax reform worked. Trump tax cut conferred most of its benefits on big corporations and the rich, while exploding the federal debt from $14.4 trillion to $21.6 trillion. Why did Diamond, the most influential CEO in America, spout these lies in favor of Trump? Because he thought Trump had a good chance of becoming president, and Diamond wanted to be in his good graces. Folks, that is where we are at. That is where your executives are at. They don't give a damn about you. They go wherever they can moose up to ensure their billions continue to grow. Don't fall for the con. And to those who take offense when I talk about the capitalist system being a system that simply create parasites that get rich while everybody else works, that is a mathematical formula. Every system, we learned back when I did engineering at the University of Texas, we were able to model systems, mechanical systems, electrical systems, and hydraulic systems. They all have the same functionality when you put them all together. And the same happens with capitalism versus free enterprise, etc. They are all models, and you can all define the systems within the models and how it works. You can create a formula that governs that system, and the formula that governs the system called capitalism as practiced in the United States is a parasitic formula. Those who go to business school and run the system of the stock market and runs the systems of capitalization, etc., they are the ones that get the most out of the economy. They get rich, but they are the ones that produce nothing. The formula, their portion within the economic system is that portion that produces nothing. It's hard to understand after having been indoctrinated from birth in this country. But if you look at the mathematical formula governing capitalism, it is a parasitic formula. Unlike any other system, unlike a hydraulic system that is completely interdependent, unlike an electrical system that is completely interdependent, unlike a hydraulic system, a spring damper mechanical system. Folks, we have to have a media, an independent media that is willing to inform. I'll take my first call. Come on in, David.
Oh, morning, Egberto. You know, when I heard you talking about the corporate CEOs and their silence, it reminded me there's a book that came out, a biography of the old FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover. That book came out in the early 90s, and it described how Wall Street was being bought up by organized crime, and that J. Edgar Hoover knew it and really did nothing about it. And so it was, I think the book quotes that 2.5% of Wall Street sales were to organized crime. They were using all of their gambling money and their prostitution money and whatever to buy up Wall Street at 2.5% per year. Now, in 10 years' time, that would be 25% of Wall Street is owned by organized crime. And in 20 years, 50% of Wall Street. So there became a point, or I'm projecting here, that Wall Street CEOs are following the orders of organized crime. You know, follow the shareholders' demands. Well, if the shareholders are organized crime, then many major corporations are organized crime fronts. And the idea that we, the people, can give a business license to honest businesses or to organized crime is a real issue. And if the corporate CEOs, like you're noticing, are dead silent about bizarre behavior on the behalf of the people, I mean, the president is supposed to be working for us, right? Yeah. And if there's a nut at the helm, that's pretty bad. But standing in the wings, of course, is J.D. Vance, part of Project 2025.
And put there by Thiel, remember, and actually installed into the Senate by the money from Thiel and installed into the vice presidency from the money from Thiel. That's a PayPal creator. Go ahead, my friend.
Sure. Well, I was just going to say, you know, the big solution, I think, is a part of it is at the local level that we, the people, have a county clerk, and that county clerk puts together the business licenses in that county. And that if one of these corporations is doing business in your county, the county clerk has the ability to yank their business license. And if that happens to Boeing in enough counties, if it happens to I like to go after Harlan Crow. There's a good Texan that should lose his business license. And in fact, that'd be a lot of land to seize, you know, as results of organized crime. So, yeah, I mean, but this can happen in Pawtuxet. It can happen in the mountains. It could happen at the beach, you know. These crooked corporations that are dead silent with obeying the whims of a crook. I mean, what's a real conservative? A real conservative would protect their assets. And you go straight to 1776 kind of writings. They did not want to be colonies. And a corporation is basically making colonies out of big parts of America. You know, it's sucking all of the, you know, gas station down the corner, the Quickie Mart. All of these are corporate owned. And every month, all of that money that gets spent at that grocery store, at that gas station gets sucked out of town. So the towns have been going dry for, over a century. And, you know, the idea that the business license is a linchpin.
You know, I'm glad that you said there's something that you said that is extremely important. And I heard it. I don't remember who I heard mention it. It's like our government, our federal government is going to be a fully fascist federal government, the way things are going right now. If you take a look, all the billionaires are the ones getting important positions right now, and all the other billionaires not in the government are sucking up to Donald Trump. Here's the other thing. You just spoke about doing things locally. That is the advice that a lot of folks are starting to give, and that is to start taking over local control. And believe it or not, that is how the fascists have done it. when they started to take over the school boards, they started to take over these things on the local level. They built a repertoire, and ultimately they got enough people not to get 50% of the country, David, but to get enough of the country to win an election in a country that doesn't really have a democracy. But hey, David, I got a lot of calls I got to handle, so I appreciate your input, my brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, same to you. And just a local idea, maybe you got a county town square kind of thing, make a little Santa's workshop. Grandpa teaches kids how to make toys.
You nailed it. We are all, David, we are all in. We all have to, this has to be a participative democracy. We all are going to have to dig us out of the hole we have allowed ourselves to be thrown into. But thank you, Brother David. Let's go to Ray.
Oh.
Brother Ray, come on in, sir.
Yeah, Brother Egberto, top of the morning to you. Happy Tuesday. And I wanted to say I definitely appreciated how Jack opened up. I gave him a shout out when he had put me in the queue. I said, George Carlin would have been proud of that monologue, I believe.
Yes, he would.
And also, while you were talking about corporations, falling at the knees of, the one, King Trump, as, he would, quietly like to be referred to, or Führer Trump, It was very unfortunate and sad news when I heard, and actually before UX put out the clip with you and Mayor Mondale, I was shocked and really saddened. And I also want to speak out to one of my other PDR brothers, Brother Johnny. If you're listening, it might be time to rethink your opinion of, Cenk Uygur, because I admittedly voted for Cenk Uygur in the primary of the presidential election in 2024, foolishly thinking, he was a loud progressive voice. But here he is bending to the will, just like Morning Joe and Mika. They pretty much, Anna and Cenk are doing the same thing. And it's really sad because they were that voice. And Mondale said the same thing when he had that interview with you, It was basically they were tone deaf to the issues that were going to really be put on the forefront with the Trump presidency, hurting Black people the most. And, instead of, answering to that, Anna especially disappointed me when she went on Glenn Beck with that disgusting display she showed of basically pandering to the right. But,
can I interrupt you, Ray? Ray, I want to interrupt you because you mentioned something racial that I think bears repeat. And I think it's more important. And I want our white brothers and sisters to understand this. There is a certain fear when you know that the Führer that's in office now has the business community kowtowing to him, the religious community kowtowing to him, and you also are able to see the appointments that he's made, and you sit back and knowing this guy is definitely anti-you, there's a certain fear. Whereas some people can plausibly say, well, we'll just live through this 4 years and, so we'll kowtow to him for 4 years, etc. That is a material harm to many. And your empathy, I would urge, I had this discussion with the leader of a big alliance recently, when in effect, one of the advice that he was given was how can we really just go ahead and placate? And I had to explain to him, is there a whole group of people right now that are scared to death because they feel now that there is an administration that sanctions police brutality. And I am not a race baiter. I am not any of those things. I mean, like I said, my family is a very blended family. But for those in my family that look like me, they're scared to death. I remember back when Trayvon Martin was killed and he just the killer got let off. My then 16-year-old nephew, who is half black, half Mexican, and he's half black, Latino, Caribbean, half Mexican, called me up and said, Tio, where does that leave me? And my sister, his mother, wrote a piece for the LA Times, an entire piece pointing out that there are a whole lot of people now, because of this, feel clothless, feel like they have no clothes on. When you have a president who says, the first day we allow them to beat the crap out of those people, we know who those people are that he's talking about. Understand the fear that is in a whole lot of people right now. Because when my white brothers and sisters walk the streets, nobody knows if they are a Trumpist, a Republican, a MAGA. They don't know that. But when somebody like Ray walks in the street or I walk in the street, they make assumptions. And to many of us, the cops ain't no friend. And notice I didn't put a race onto cops. The cops we don't feel are our friends, especially under the tutelage of Donald Trump. Continue, Ray.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, basically, every time I speak, as I say, violently, like yesterday, I speak from a place, like you said, of fear. I really feel like I'm like, every time I see, Eric Hayes say what he said, whether I'm talking about an economic issue or a social justice issue or a criminal justice issue, he's very tone deaf. And it's like he speaks from a place of white privilege, let's just be honest. And you allow people like him to have a platform. Of course, that's his freedom of speech. But, I sit here and say, yeah, you have freedom of speech, but I'm not going to allow you to let your freedom of speech literally, put a damper on what I am trying to do. Basically, you're going to keep your freedom of speech, but I'm put in a place where I feel attacked all the time. And that's what Mondale Robertson, I feel when America voted for Trump, that was a personal attack to me. I felt like my whole generation, my whole race was attacked. And when people like Eric Hayes says the things he says, well, I'm going to see you, Eric Hayes. We're going to fight it out. Not physically with fists, but we're going to fight. Because you're going to hear what I got to say. There'll be a time for that. But, Brother John, think twice about he's not the progressive we thought he is.
Bray, thank you very much. And by the way, I need to salute the folks in the chat. Clay Cooley says, enjoying the entertainment, wants to be added to my Discord. We'll do that, sir. Let's see. We also have Eric Hayes is in the chat. Mark Ali Curtis is in the chat.
I want to say one last thing. When you support Trump, you provoke violence. Period. End of story. That's all I got to say to you.
Thank you, brother. Glenn Ryan is in the chat. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the chat. Mark Kelly Curtis is in the chat. Thank you guys for the vivid conversation in the chat. Okay, we have a lady on. Let's go to Melissa. Come on, Melissa.
Grand Rising, everyone. Grand Rising, Houston. I just wanted to give a quick word out here in these streets. The ACP program for AT&T. I think Xfinity's still trying to hold on to something, but the Congress, your Texas representatives just got rid of the ACP program that gives a discount benefit to any families making under $100,000 to have paid cheaper on your internet services. So when you were paying that $139, you didn't have to pay that if you signed up for this ACP program. But yeah, now that's gone.
Let me ask you, Melissa, let me see if I understand you correctly. I know that was, I think the Biden administration gave monies within the Relief Act for that. Are you saying that they're still getting that money and Texas decided not to use it for that any longer?
Yes.
Wow.
Correct. Texas took away the excess internet program to the right.
Well, I think it's something we need to publicize, and thank you very much for that, Melissa. Melissa, go ahead.
If you call AT&T, they're going to say call your Congress to bring the program back, but they got stripped of their right to offer that program.
Oh, I'm so glad that you tell me that. I need to research that, my sister. I appreciate that. And I hope you're going to be coming on sometime this week to talk about Kwanzaa. 3
p.m. I'm gonna get with you.
All right. Thank you very much, Melissa. Have a great one. All right, let's go to I kind of lost my train. Let me look at the times here. Let's go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, brother.
Hey, you don't have Trump drainage syndrome, but I can tell you what you do have.
Tell me, brother.
A heart.
Oh, I love you, man. You don't know how much. Thank you. Let's go. Continue.
Now, all right. For the first caller, a little bit off topic, but it's interesting. People do weaponize our stock market. We had to stop Iran, and we didn't stop them until they had over $1 trillion invested, and they were investing that to hold it somewhat like hostage, that if they were to withdraw it all at one time, it would crash our markets. I'm told that the different Mexican cartels have a ton of money in the stock market. So yes, the stock market is weaponized, and these CEOs will do whatever they think will increase that stock price until they leave, and then they're going to take as much as they can, and they're going to even screw over their investors. But until then, they're going to listen to their investors, and they're going to do whatever they want. So the stock market's weaponized. Next, I was hoping to ask Bart a question. Trump came out very, very casually and said, "Well, you know, those grocery prices, I guess I'm not going to be able to do anything with them." And the thing that with Trump is that if he really cares about something and he can't get it done, he's gonna throw out all these wild excuses and say that he was sabotaged and things. What that tells me is he never intended to, and he didn't care. He doesn't care about what you're spending at the grocery store. He probably do something, but it's important for everybody to understand and learn right now that there's about 3% of the population in our country that dictate prices. It has nothing to do with government. It has nothing to do with you or me, and it has nothing to do with the way we vote. They set a price based on how badly they think they can squeeze. That's the system that we have.
It's called capitalism. That's called capitalism.
Yeah, so when you're voting for a president over grocery prices, you're a fool.
All right. Thank you very much, Patrick. My lines are filled up and I got to get moving. So thank you, my brother. I'll see you at 3. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Yeah, good morning, Egberto. I want to speak about corporations. When the country was founded, there weren't major corporations. There were small companies, silversmiths, horseshoers, farmers, etc. With corporations, if somebody's rising through the ranks of a corporation, he's going to think, well, I'm a good guy. I go to church, give to charity. I should take that CEO job. But when he gets there, he's like, well, this decision is not one I like, but it's for the company, for the corporation. I have to make it. and he makes decisions he would normally not make. With time, he doesn't even know his personality changes. It changes him into something he originally wasn't. People hide behind the corporate shield.
Yes.
If someone in a corporation sends a worker down into a vat to clean it out and the worker dies from fumes, the corporation gets some bad publicity, but no individuals are held accountable. A corporation is held accountable, pay a fine or whatever, but that individual gets off because he hides behind a corporate shield, and that is wrong. That CEO I just brought up, personality changes to where he becomes something that earlier in his life he would think was despicable, and he doesn't even realize he's changed.
Bruce, let me just tell you that you nailed it, Bruce, because that is one of the reasons with Move to Amend, we were working on the 28th Amendment that says corporations are not people and money is not speech. And why do we say corporation is not people? Because you nailed it when you say they hide the crime behind the veil of the corporations. And since you can't put a corporation in jail, all you can do is fine a corporation. Continue, Bruce. I got to go to another person real quick. So
Can I say
closer
one
for
quick
me.
thing? One quick thing. Trump is showing himself to be the south end of a northbound horse. That's all about it.
Thank you, brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Augie. Come on in, Augie.
Good morning. Well, originally I was going to talk about how the media, is being bought up by these billionaires. And I remember these Trump supporters, they talked about how good it was back in the 50s and 60s when that Walter Cronkite and all these, and Dan Rather and all these other commentators. Mm-hmm. But they forget, they talk about the truth, not opinions, not hate, but facts. And Walter Cronkite would end his show with, and that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about facts and truth. If they made a mistake in saying something, on the next show, they would say, "Oh, we made a mistake, and I was wrong." Fox News never does that. In fact, the cable channel, they're known for lying. Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity were sued for lying, and Sean Hannity was even told on one show that he was on by the producer when they went to break that he had lied, and the producer told Sean Hannity, when they come back on the air, you got to correct it. So when they came back on the air, Sean Hannity said, "Well, yeah, I was wrong, what I said right before the commercial." But at the end of the show, he said, "Well, I might have been wrong, but I was right to tell you a lie." And at the end of the show, and people still follow all these guys that really are working against the people, their listeners. And that's what the Nazis did with Goebbels. He handled their communication. And the business people back then in Germany thought they could handle Hitler. Boy, they were wrong. And then they helped Hitler. Ford here helped Hitler. IBM helped Hitler here in the United States. Yeah.
Hey, my brother, I got to run. I got 8 minutes left and 6 people. So thank you very much for that, Augie. As usual, great insight.
But I want to send out a greeting to a friend of mine, Mark. He said he'd be listening here to you. And okay, Mark and Kristen, thanks for listening to the show. And thanks, Egberto, for all you do.
Well, Augie, thank you very much for being one of our great listeners and supporters. Okay, let's jump to a new person, Spike. Come on in, Spike.
Wow. Hey, how you doing? You say a new person. That's all right. Hey,
no. Okay, I recognize your voice now. Sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm the same Spike.
Okay.
But hey, this is what I want to say. See, we looking at Donald Trump, saying he want to be the king. He the king, bowing down to him and everything. But what we're not looking at, and then we going by what we're given over the news, over the media. We're myself, Donald Trump is a servant. He's a servant to Russia. Nikita Khrushchev made the statement, I believe it was back in 1926 or something, that Russia will control America without firing one shot.
Wow.
And they'll control it from within.
You know, Spike, I hadn't heard that one, but wow, that's really interesting, isn't it?
And you need to check that out.
I will.
Go to your computer and check that out.
I'll do that, brother.
That is what is going on.
Hey, Spike. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, and I appreciate your brevity. Oh, so I was going to jump to Betty. Betty, we lost you. Come back in. Call back in, Betty. Thank you, Spike. Betty, we lost you. As soon as I get you back on, I'll put you right up in front. But let's go ahead and go to Johnny as I wait for Betty. Oh, Betty, let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
Okay, so real quickly, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that, I posted a comment on the ABC's YouTube channel, ABC TV YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. They're titled, called Senator Mitt Romney Delivers His Farewell Address on the Senate Floor.
Yes.
And for the first time ever since I've been posting comments on YouTube, before I was done with my last two sentences, a box message flashed up on my screen asking me if I wanted to change any of my language. And they said it in a real friendly way. And they had some of my note printed right there in the box, but it wasn't anywhere near offensive. The most offensive thing I had in there was I called Ted Cruz a pussy because Romney was a hypocrite, and no better than that pussy Ted Cruz. So I posted it anyway. I declined. I ignored the box and I hit enter, and the message went through as far as I know. But I don't know if it's still there. So that'd be interesting for me to go back and look and see if it's still there.
Well, let me tell you what can happen there. What they're warning you about is they're saying maybe you could get a community hit. A community hit is when a whole lot of folks go ahead and hit your comment, and you have organizations that's what they do on Facebook. They try to diminish your thing, or they try to get you a strike, or they do all that kind of trickery on YouTube. So it could easily be discarded. But hey, Johnny, I'm sorry I messed up on time today. I got to get 3 people in 3 minutes. So thank you, my brother.
Okay, just real quickly, the jury is still out on Cenk Uygur.
All right, have a good one. I'll let you and Ray fight that out. Let's go to Betty. Come on in, Betty. Real quick,
Good morning, Egberto. I'm on a ramble. What I stood for, my reputation, my love, my all, is kind of empty. Going to be the next 4 years, but I'm not going to be a barfly.
Yes.
People, you are not PG. That means pregnant. And the people on the school board now, they are Harper Valley PTA now. Anyway, we need to bring it home. You cannot live other lives for them. Love you, Egberto.
Love you too, Betty. Thank you very much. Let's go to Brother Derek. Come on in, Derek.
Hey, good morning. I'm going to say this, Egberto, and I want everybody to think about this. Look, I heard Ray this morning, and I'm hearing a lot from a bunch of Spanish brothers and sisters. Look, let me tell y'all something. Y'all do not fear Trump. Bob Marley said it correctly. The biggest man you ever did see was just a baby at one time. And I want to say to the Spanish people, look here, tell them, send me back. Because if you do that, just remember, you educated me. You gave me some of the best knowledge that I can go back and build a reality for myself and my people. And I'm going to make sure I remember my friends, and I'm going to make sure I remember my enemies. You go back and build a bigger reality than what the United States have given to you. Thanks, Egberto.
Okay, Derek, I want to stop here a minute for because I had this conversation with a whole lot of folks that are originally from Mexico who actually had friends, Mexican friends that voted for Trump, and I want to let you know. Okay, first of all, just like you and I don't want everybody to categorize us based or stereotype us, let's make sure not to stereotype Latinos, but specifically our Mexican brothers and sisters and Cuban brothers and sisters, because a lot of them, in fact, in many areas, most of them did the right thing. So I just want us to remember in building our bridges that we have to work together and all this stuff. And don't let the media, and this is for you, my brother Derek, the media is a very big divider. Let's not allow them to do that, because they're going to put people in. Say that again, sir?
I say, of course they are.
Right. Okay. So thank you, brother.
You're absolutely right.
Thank you, brother. I got to jump to Brian. He only gets about 45 seconds. Come on in, Brian.
Good morning, everyone. It's real foggy outside, so be careful driving. Now, what your media is not going to tell you is Biden decided to sell off the remainder of the border wall. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, Eric Hayes in our chat has been talking a whole lot about that. It seems like that's yet another right wing thing that's out there. You know, you know what I really hope? I really hope at some time the hysteria that the right wing media does to people like you and Eric would cease. I really hope at some point that'll happen.
I only have 45 seconds. I only have 45 seconds, right? So you
go ahead. Go.
Okay, yeah. Now, there's somebody listening to this program that was quite happy that a man was shot and killed because he was the CEO of a healthcare company. He was quite happy to talk about it. I find that disgusting that a man lost his life for doing a job.
Okay, let me. First of all, I don't agree with that. But let me ask you this. Hold on. Okay, you made your point. I want you to answer my question now. I don't condone what happened to Brian Thompson, okay? But don't you acknowledge that Brian Thompson got a lot of people killed? He was killed, but he got a lot of people killed. Don't you acknowledge that? Yes or no?
I do not.
Okay, good. Have a great day. Brian, have a great day. Have a great day, Brian, because again, like I said, indoctrination, I can't do much about it. Thank you, brother. Anyway, let's go to the studio.
Nothing here. What you got, Jack?
Nothing here.
Jack says nut. Take it home,
folks.
Egberto.
All right. Love you all. And I mean that from the depths of my heart. Finish the program. The program is finished at politicsandright.com/newsletter. Politicsandright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics and Right, comes from politicsandright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you